Oh, God. That was sick. I didn't think I even got a hook Might be up there too. Yeah, I think so. Oh man, we spoiled that bro.
Young man, take a look at me now. I'm down to play today. You can string me up and bring the crowd. That's all I need to say. Voice of an angel, entertainment for a king. No rhythm to speak. I wish the God you could sing. Finding Helen of Troy in a real world style. Could start a religion with a launch coach smile. And I was born with a rock and roll soul. Here's what I need. Make me whole. Yeah, I was born with a rock and roll soul. Here's all I need. Make me whole. Yeah.
Well, get those live fed sifting clips, strap down those rods, and stash away those tackle bags because we are going fishing. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bass Tour Anglers Podcast. I'm your host, Keith Nicewanger, and today we're going to be talking to Wild West Bass Apex Tour Angler of the Year, Austin Wilson. Austin is a well-regarded pro from California, and he has a very popular YouTube channel, Fisherman Wilson. We're going to check in with him to find out what he's been up to and to find out what he's going to be doing in 2022. But first, if you like the content that we produce, please subscribe to our channel and give us a comment if you're so inclined. By now, you know that we are the Western representatives for ducket fishing, rods, reels, baits. You know these guys, the strongest pro staff in all of professional tour fishing. We are adding new dealerships just about every week in the West. If you're in Ventura, Los Angeles County, Orange County, the Inland Empire, San Diego, Lake Havasu, Sacramento, we've got a store to hook you up. If you have a tackle shop or know of one that we should drop in on, please send us a DM on Instagram or go to our website, basstouranglers.com, and send us an email. We would love to tell you about the Ducket line of pro-driven products. That's rods, reels, and baits.
Change. It's inevitable. To improve, you must adapt. The sport is evolving. A paradigm shift is a fundamental change of basic concepts. Don't get left behind. Introducing Paradigm. Paradigm Reels by Ducket Fishing. Pro-driven.
Our guest today might be the hottest stick in the West. Check out these accomplishments. He won the 2018 Bass Federation Living the Dream prize package valued at $120,000 and included an invitation to fish the FLW Tour in 2019, where he qualified for that organization's title event. He is a former Wild West Bass Tour Angler of the Year, having won that title in 2020, and he is the 2021 Apex Tour Angler of the Year. And add to that, he has a very entertaining YouTube channel. Be sure to check out Fisherman Wilson. Austin Wilson, welcome to the Bass Tour Anglers Podcast. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you're having me on, man. This is going to be a good time.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a good time here tonight. So Austin Wilson might be the best in the West at this time. Talk about how you got to this point.
So I've been fishing tournaments for 20 years.
Okay.
I started when I was fishing tournaments. I was fishing when I was 10 years old. I've been fishing. My dad introduced me to fishing, obviously at a really early age. And then introduced, like I said, got into tournament fishing when I was 10 years old. And then got out of high school and, well, fishing throughout high school and whatnot, fishing some tournaments, fishing some amateur stuff. And shortly after high school, I got kicked out of like all of the amateur events out west. So I'm like, man, what do I do next? Really FLW was out of my grasp. It was just a little too much money. I didn't really have the financial backing to fish FLW at the time. So I fished the TBF, the Bass Federation. And that's kind of how I got my foot in the door, obviously winning the Living the Dream package. I fished for a year fished the TBF, qualified to go back to the state the state championship, or the semifinals, sorry. And I couldn't go, my boat was broken. I couldn't go fish it. And then requalified the following year, went back east, and then won the whole Living the Dream package. So that was pretty neat for sure. So that's kind of how I got started. I've been fishing, like I said, for a long time. It's been in my blood. It's all I think about is fishing.
And speaking of 2018 Living the Dream package, tell us what that was like. We've seen that. I mean, FLW is not FLW anymore, but
Right.
but there are some big names. Mark Daniels Jr. that won that package and got to the tour via that route. What was that experience like?
It was pretty cool going back there. I've never really traveled outside California to fish any other body of water. And going back to fish that deal, they really put on a giant, event for us. They gave everyone a brand new Ranger 520 to fish the event. They gave us, a place to stay. They fed us, and obviously, and then we fished the event. And then they took pretty much one guy from every state, and I was the top guy from California to go back there, and I ended up winning the whole thing. So that was pretty cool. And, winning that, and then going and fish the All-American on Cross Lake, in Louisiana, or Louisiana. And then fishing the Forcewood Cup shortly after that, and then qualifying and fishing the 2019 tour, FLW tour. So that was pretty neat, man. It was a really cool experience.
So you fished the whole tour that year.
Yep.
How were you treated by other pros there? We just got through talking on this show to Matty Wong. He's going to be fishing the Elite Series this year.
Yep.
And we're talking about, how he's going to be accepted by the other guys. What was your experience like?
I pretty much, kept to myself, and just focused on fishing, because all I wanted to do was do my best and try to win, and meeting guys, that kind of just falls in place, run into guys, and Dakota Ebear, it was a guy that I started traveling with. AJ, he was up in New York. He's a New York guy. He's a stud. Who's another? Chad Warren was another guy I got to travel with and talk to. I mean, there was a handful of guys. It just, like I said, just kind of fell in place, and just, started talking to guys, and, everyone was super nice. And, there's guys that are, it's kind of like, I wouldn't say like high school where clicky, there's some guys that are clicky and have their little groups, but, for the most part, you get to meet people, and, for the most fishermen are pretty nice, so.
Yeah. Dakota Ebear, he's our 2021 Bass Tour Anglers Podcast Angler of the Year. He's the next guy that's going to be on the show.
Nice.
We've got an episode coming up with him real soon. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, good dude.
Yeah, and he's made it to the BPT this next year. That'll be a big move for him.
Yeah, super stoked for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you had a top 10 that didn't you have a top 10 that year?
I had a top 10. Let's see. No, I mean, not for 4 days. So I fished the Kissimmee chain, and day 3 I finished 24th at the Kissimmee chain. But I think day 2 I was out in like 10th place or something like that. I was in the top 10.
Okay.
Forcewood Cup, I was in, I think day 1 I was in 12th place. So I mean, I was right up there, but no, I didn't finish top 10. I mean, I requalified for 2020 season, just didn't have the financial background to keep fishing. So
yeah, that's something that I'd like to talk about, because I mean, I don't know. It's worked out for you pretty well coming back home.
Yeah.
But, what do you think about that? I mean, is that something that you wish you were still doing, or is that something is that an in-game goal at some point?
It depends on, Wild West. I really like, I really hope this thing does go big, on the West Coast, because, the West Coast need it. We don't have anything really big out here, FLW or MLF and, bass, they don't really come out here. The elite, the bass comes out here every like 5 to 7 years, but we're the redheaded stepchild, like they don't come out west. So I'm hoping Wild West, the Apex deal really gets big, so I don't have to go back east. And and then if it doesn't happen, then I'll try to requalify and go back east, because that's because West Coast, I'm familiar with all these bodies of water for the most part. And going back east and fishing against a lot of those guys, they grew up back there. They fished all these places. If they came here, I would smash them. If they came and fished the Delta against me, I wouldn't have a problem. I'd get a check, or I'd probably not say win, but probably get a top 10, or you go to Clear Lake against these guys, and I'd probably do the same thing, but it's totally different, coming from the West Coast, going back there, and trying to beat those guys at their own game on their own bodies of water that they've been growing, fishing their entire lives, so, it takes 5 to 7 years to get really good. How many years has Justin Lucas been on tour, and he's just, now he's being obviously he's really good, but I think it took him about 5 years to start really, really getting noticed, so.
Oh, yeah. And of course he comes from your neighborhood, right?
Yeah. Real close, right around the corner. Yeah. It's not too far. We grew up, went to Sac State, which is not too far for me. And so not too far. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Justin on this show. So now you were this season's Apex Angler of the Year, and by the way, I love the way you document what you do. I guess I must watch a lot of YouTube, because I find a channel that I just watch everything that's there, and I really enjoyed watching your Apex series this year. I'm trying to think which one it was. I think it was the Comanche event. That's the last event.
Yeah. No, the Comanche event. So
you won the Comanche event.
No, I got 12th at the Comanche event. So I won the first.
Where was the TOC where you were rattle trapping those fish?
So that was there was two. It was 2 days on the Delta,
right? And
then we had a really big storm, and then the tournament got postponed for 2 weeks later, or 2 weeks later, to 1 day on Berryessa.
Right.
So the whole reason why we didn't postpone it until that, wait for the storm to pass and have the tournament on Monday, was Wild West had a TOC for their Wild West, Bass Trail for the Pro-Ams.
Yeah.
It was the next weekend. So they went off limits on Monday.
Oh.
So they couldn't fish. We couldn't fish on Monday, because there was guys that fished to Apex that qualified for the Pro-Am TOC. So they decided to extend it out after that tournament. So we had a 1 day shootout at Berryessa.
Well, I wanted to tell you that episode of you rattle trapping those fish off that deep grass line, I think it was.
Yep.
That was pretty spectacular. That was a clinic, man.
Yeah, that was good. And usually, I've never really got on them like that at Berryessa. I've caught them, here and there at Berryessa, but not like Clear Lake. That's a Clear Lake game. That LV 500 is a staple for that place. And I got on them like that at Clear Lake. I can't tell you how many times. So it was pretty neat to get on them at Berryessa the same way. Berryessa and Clear Lake are really close to each other. But, for instance, there's not another fishery that I've really thrown the LV that I've really smashed them like that. I never really got on a really big school to where they eat that bait really well. It seems like Berryessa and Clear Lake are the only places I can sit there and just, I wouldn't say sit there and wear them out, because I've only got them on them like that at once at Berryessa. Well, twice, because I went back the next weekend and caught them the same exact way. But yeah,
I was calling it a rattle trap. What was the exact bait you were throwing?
At Lucky Craft LV 500.
Lucky Craft. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the bait. For Clear Lake, that's the bait you need in the spring and fall. They eat red eye shad and Jackal makes one. TN70 might be the bait, but the LV 500 is, you can't beat it. That's the best bait for that place in the spring and fall.
Now I got sidetracked talking about fishing, but I wanted to. So now the Apex Tour is relatively new,
right?
32 pros qualify for it,
right? 32 guys qualified for it. And they all qualify. Most of them qualified through the Pro-Am. So the beginning of 2020, they said they never really told us what was going to go on, but they said, hey, you might want to do well in the standings, and so I ended up winning Angler of the Year, so I got an invite to the Apex, series. So, the 20 or so guys got, for AOY points, they qualified to go in, and then they hand selected a few guys. Obviously, Jared Littner, he didn't fish Wild West, but he got selected. Ish Monroe's fishing this year.
Oh, is that right?
So, Ish is fishing. So, he didn't fish any, but he got hand selected to fish this. So they're trying to make it big, and we need it out west. We, like I said earlier, we're the redhead stepchild. We get no love for the most part.
So 2021, then, I mean, I try to keep up with this stuff. I mean, I consider myself somewhat of an expert on tournament fishing, but this was 2021 the first year of Apex?
Yep, 2021 was the first year of Apex. Yep.
Okay, now it's starting to come together. And this is a Wild West Bass organization, right?
Right, correct.
Okay. They're the ones that put it on. Okay. Well, good. I now it's an entry fee event.
Yeah. They're working on a no entry fee event, but it's going to be a few years before that happens. So just to get the balls rolling, we need to pay entry fees.
Yeah, that kind of feels like BPT kind of stuff, even though BPT now charges an entry fee.
Yeah.
So you were Angler of the Year this year.
Yep.
What I'm trying to keep track of the numbers here. Was it 4 events, 3 top 10?
So there's three regular season events and then a TOC.
Okay.
This upcoming year they added the event. So there's 4 regular seasons, 4 regular season events, and then a TOC this season. So the TOC also included the AOY points. So you had to do well in the Angler of the Year for the TOC to get Angler of the Year.
So will the TOC be a Angler of the Year event this year also?
Year? No.
This year
it'll
it's
be
not.
the regular 4 season events. That'll be the Angler of the Year stat. Yes.
Okay. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. The West has. I mean, I live in the West. I'm a California guy, so I think we have some of the most diverse waterways anywhere. I mean, I know we have other diverse waterways throughout the country, but I think in the Western United States, you got to be a good frogger. You got to be a good puncher. You better know how to fish 5-pound test line in clear water. And also, so it's some of the most diverse water, I think, anywhere in the country. It really
100%.
makes you have to be a full complement of techniques. Which of these fisheries do you find the most challenging, and which are your favorite? I think you already said your favorite, right?
Yeah, each body of water has their time and place. They all can be tough and they all can be good. So I think day in and day out, for me, I think the place that I struggle on the most is Folsom Lake. It's 10 minutes down the road.
That's in your neighborhood, yeah.
That is in my neighborhood, and I actually went there today. And I only caught 2 freaking fish, man. That place kicked my butt. But we also just
snowing up there today because it's
it wasn't snowing, but all the mountain ranges in the background I could see, and everything had snow on it. So it got cold. I mean, the water temp was 53, 54. So I mean, really, it's not that cold. It's not in the 40s. So I've had frog bites in 53-degree water temp. So I don't think it's that cold. But these fish were obviously we just had it's post frontal situation today, so those fish didn't want to eat regardless. But yeah, Folsom Lake is pretty tough for me sometimes. The Delta could be tough. If in the spring, the winter months, Clear Lake could be tough. In transition phases from springtime to straight spawn, or I should say from fall to winter, or I should say summertime to fall. I mean, those fish get really finicky. It kind of all depends on the body of water. All the places have their times that they're tough, and like I said, all the places have the time when they're really good. But day in and day out, I think Folsom kicks my butt, to be honest.
Now, besides the Delta, which is the other one that you really like.
Yep.
So outside the Delta,
what's another it would probably be Clear Lake. I've had some really, really good bags there, but there's so many good guys that fish. It's hard to win, really hard to win at Clear Lake.
Yeah.
But favorite, man. Havasu I've only fished Havasu once. That place was awesome. beautiful, beautiful. It's like an oasis in the desert.
Yep.
But man, the Delta, Berryessa's fun. I've caught them really good at Berryessa, Shasta, Oroville. Those places are fun. Just a lot of spotted bass. Those are fun. If you want to catch fish, hard for me. It's hard to get a really big one, but
I was gonna say, how do you catch? I always want. I talked to Jeff Michaels about this. How do you catch a limit that weighs more than 7 pounds at that lake?
You just gotta go throw. For me, you gotta throw a big swim bait. And that's how you get your better than average fish. I know Jeff Michaels. He throws a weightless Senko a lot.
Yep.
And he seems to get better than average fish. He's a hammer on Shasta. That guy's hard to beat up there.
Yep.
So him and Greg, Gutierrez.
Yes. That's some good names from speaking of pros. I think the rest of the country, and I don't want to come across as this. I feel like we're just talking about the West right now, but I think the rest of the country is aware that we have some great pros. We've sent Skeet Reese and Gary Klein and Aaron Martins and people like that have gone back east. And forgive me if I'm leaving anybody out, because Ish Monroe, all these guys. Yeah, there's a lot of them. I think we've kind of taught the rest of the country how to fish a little bit in some situations.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah,
but
sure.
when you fish out here, I think the rest of the country thinks that everybody that was any good came out there. But there are some really good anglers. I like I said, I watched these videos you put out, and I'm like, I remember that guy. I remember that. Yeah. I remember Greg Gutierrez when he was a young guy. So when you go into one of these events, who is that guy, or who are those anglers that on any given body of water can win, besides yourself, of course?
I think 4 guys right off the top of my head. And I don't honestly, one of them, I don't think I've ever fished against, but I know he's just a phenomenal fisherman, just absolute hammer. Justin Kerr, man, that guy straight up catching. I don't think I've ever fished against him, but I know he can catch him. Greg Gutierrez is another phenomenal fisherman. Another one that's kind of been, he was really good. He still is really good. Juan Acosta, he seems to be really good all around. John Pearl is another one. It seems that he can catch him on every body of water. That guy can catch him. So, Bryant Smith, he went back east. That guy, he's phenomenal too. I don't want to fish against him. I'm glad he's back east, to be honest. So, there's a handful of guys that and there's so many more. Whenever you're around grass, Ken Mock and he can catch him. So, there's guys, and each body of water has the group of guys that you're worried about. Like if you go to Clear Lake, who do you think of? You think of Wayne Brazil. You think of John Pearl. Those guys straight catch them. I'm kind of biased. I have a really good buddy that fishes that place. I think he's an absolute hammer. His name's Jackson Juarez. If I ever fished against him, he knows that lake like the back of his hand. If you go to the Delta, who do you think about? You think of Mike Andrews. You think of Mark Downs Jr. when he was back here. Yeah. Phil Dutra is another one that you got to worry about. He just moved back to Alabama. Harvey and Jamon, those guys are just absolute crazy good fishermen on the Delta. If you go to the Motherlode Lakes, you got Christian Ostrander, that he's a young guy. He's early 20s, and he's very good, very good. And then you have Alex. I'm probably gonna butcher his last name. Niapez. I think that's how you say his last name. And Ramirez is another really, I don't know. Ramirez, I think that's his last name. I'm not 100% about his first name, but those guys are really good on the Motherlode Lakes. Those are guys that are really hard to beat. So it depends on your body of water, because there's local guys that do really well, and I'm glad Apex gets to travel around to bodies of water that we don't fish all the time, so you don't have those local hammers that fish that body water. They didn't live there for who knows how long, right. So but for day in and day out, those 4 guys, that Justin Kerr, John Pearl, Juan Acosta, Greg Gutierrez are the guys that I think that catch them every time.
Wild West Bass does allow jackpotting, right? They do allow a guy to just jump into an event, but not fish them all, or do you have to fish them all?
For Wild West, for the pro-ams, you can just jackpot. You can just hop in if there's room. Yeah, they hop in. For Apex, you can't.
No, Apex. That's what's nice about Apex. You can go to any lake and not have to worry about the local guy, and unless he's also fishing on that tour.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good stuff.
Mhm.
That's good stuff. Well, this past fall, Juan Bass, Wild West Bass, Bass Cat Boats, and there were others involved, announced that in 2023, anglers in the West are going to have a Bassmaster Classic like event. What are your thoughts on the Western Bass Shootout?
Man, like I said earlier, it's awesome. I think it's pretty cool just because, we've been so, I wouldn't say mistreated, but I'm just saying the MLF and Bass, they don't like California, man. They don't like it. They don't like the West Coast. So at least that's what it seems, right? They never come out here, and it's probably, honestly, I think it might be the politics, which, our politics, kind of suck, right? They do. So I don't blame them for that. But, there's a lot of really, like I said, there's a lot of really good fishermen out here that will support them, right? Go to the events, watch them and whatnot. But, I think that's going to be a really cool event, and hopefully I qualify for it and I'm in it, I'm fishing it. So
Yeah,
that's the goal.
Well, if you have the kind of year you had this year, my understanding is you would be right there.
Right.
They're talking about it being an entry fee event, at least early on. I mean, I understand that entry fees are part of but I really wish we had tours that could not be entry fee. I mean,
Right.
We want to be like golf. We want to be like NASCAR. Someday, maybe, hopefully
One day.
Hopefully in my lifetime.
Yeah. Hopefully, like I said, that was the main goal going in for Apex was, it's not going to happen right away, but in the future, it was going to be a no entry fee, kind of deal. So I'm hoping it'll happen soon, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen for the next couple years at least. So,
one of the things I wanted to ask you about, that it's kind of a little bit different, but I noticed in your videos, you are fishing out of what, a 1991 Ranger bass boat. What?
Yep.
It's so funny because Matty Wong just kicked everybody's butt in a boat on the Ouachita River with no power poles, with no lights. And you're kind of doing the same thing. What is it with these old boats?
It's not the boat that catches them, man.
I
know. So as long as it gets from point A to point B and there's no mechanical issues, that's all I need. As long as my boat is small, 481, it's 18-foot boat. Yeah. So anytime we're on big water, it's a little scary. Like that boat can definitely, it doesn't handle rough water very well. For an 18-foot boat, I mean, you need a 20-foot boat. So I'm looking into a 20-foot boat right now. Don't get me wrong, I love my 18-foot boat. It gets me into some shallow water. It's kind of quick for a little boat, and obviously I just got the Ultrex. I've only used it 3 times. So before I had the Fortrex on there. For lakes that there's humps and some areas that I'm worried about, and then I put the graphs on, or I'm kind of fishing deep, or I'm looking for graphs. But most time I don't even use the graphs. If I know, like the Delta, I don't even put them on. I don't even look at the tides. I just go fishing.
I've seen your videos. You take them off your boat.
Yeah,
you use the graph mount to mount your GoPros. I love it.
Yeah. Yep. And then, the first event, we went up to Lake Almanor. I didn't even have any graphs at the time, so and I ended up winning that whole event with no graphs. So, and it snowed on us, and it was fantastic. So, and then we went to the Comanche, and the water's really low there. There's a lot of humps that aren't even marked. So I needed that graph to kind of show me the creek channels and stuff, so I can run the creek channels. So, and then we went to the After Bay, which that's just a shallow water graphs fishery. I didn't need the graphs. So I didn't even have them on, or I don't even know I don't think I had them on. And then we went to the Delta, and I don't need it for that. And then we went the one-day shootout at Comanche, which I thought we were going to catch them deep. I thought that was going to be the deal, was catching them deep. So that's why I had the graphs on. But I still ended up catching them shallow. I don't even think I looked at the freaking graphs, But yeah, so I like to fish without them. Just use my rod to figure out where I'm fishing. Like I pretty much, with the LV 500 is perfect because you can tell where the grass is. I can feel where the hard bottom is, hard bottom spots are and whatnot. So I use my bait as my graph pretty much. So I can I can fan cast around the boat, and I know exactly where everything is. If it comes over a stump or whatever, or come over a rock, or there's a piece of grass, and I don't need forward facing sonar to tell me that, like I can tell, I just always see it take the forward facing sonar cuts out that work, but it seems like I'm doing just fine without it. So, but yeah, we'll see here. Maybe, like I said, I'm looking into a 521 Sea Ranger. So I don't know. We'll see. I might have a new boat here soon, but like I said, there's nothing wrong with my 481. It runs great.
We are talking to Austin Wilson. His YouTube channel is Fisherman Wilson. He is Angler of the Year of Apex 2021. He's Angler of the Year of Wild West Bass Tour in 2020. He's just winning everything there is out here to win. Aren't you approaching at some point here's a boat deal and sell it at the end of the year to make up your finance? Isn't that on the horizon for you? And if it's not, we need to beat down some doors, because I mean, who else is worthy of that out here or anywhere?
You would think so. You think people would be doing that, but it's hard. Like I'm having a hard time. I'm knocking down people's doors, and there's no dealer around here that wants to give out a boat deal. They already have their guys that they give boat deals, and they don't want to give a boat deal to anyone else. So I don't know what else I need to do. I really don't. Just keep winning, I guess. And eventually it's going to happen. So, like I said, I need a boat deal. I really do. I've worked too hard. I've been fishing for too long. I've had too much success not to have it, so, and I'll do all the work, I'll go to, ship boat shows or whatever they need me to do. I'll do the work, whatever they want me to do. I'll do it, so I know what comes
you are creating impressions. And your videos are getting several thousand views. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk off screen and see what we can't figure out, because it just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And all my friends and family think the same thing. It's like, I have some really good friends that are fishermen, and like, man, you can't get a boat deal. Like, why are these guys getting boat deals? And I'm like, sometimes it's who you know, it's not what you know. And
that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Speaking of that, can an angler make a living as a tournament pro in the West, or do you have to go back east to make a living?
As of right now,
that's a real indictment on the West if a guy can't make a living doing this.
Right. As of right now, I don't think so. As of right now, unless you were a guide as well. But other than that,
hard work.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. So, but Wild West is trying to get to that. If we cap the field at 60 boats, payout, we're working on a first place, paying out $75,000 for first place. So, for only a 60 boat field. So that's pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
Once it gets to that, I think you could. I think that if you just fish tournaments, multiple, I don't think you can fish just. It depends on how many events Apex ends up having. If they have, like the national tours, like the elites and MLF. How many does MLF have? They have, or the Toyota Series, MLF. They have 7 events. They have 70.
Well,
right?
the tour is 6 events. The Pro Tour, the Tackle Warehouse Tour is 6 events plus a title championship. The Toyota Series there's only 3 Toyota Series events.
Right. And then how many elites have? The
elites are at 9. 9 events.
See, that's quite a few. So if Wild West or Apex had 7 events out here, I think you could. I think you could do it for a living on the West Coast. Now, I know everything's really expensive out here as of right now. Gas is $5 a gallon for the most part. So maybe the gas prices go down. But I think right now, no, I don't think you do it right now. You have to have a full-time job as well, and a job that will let you take the time off to go fish, which is kind of hard to do. So. Kind of hard to find.
I mean, so do you have a side job that you work on that's not fishing, or?
Yes, I do. I do have a job. I don't know if I really want to talk about what I do. I mean, so I work for a company called Sierra Donor Services. Okay. They're right here in West Sacramento. I collect human tissue. It's a gnarly job. I didn't think I can stomach it. It's crazy what you do to go fishing, right? Like it's but I can stomach it, and I can permit minimum I have to work is 8 days a month. So it's pretty legit for fishing, So, yeah, I mean, like I said, some people think I'm when they hear that, they think I'm pretty weird and how do you do that and stuff like that. But it pays the bills and
Supply and demand.
And I'm helping other people. So that's how I look at it, is that I'm helping other people to keep on living.
Yeah. Well, like I said, supply and demand, it's a real thing.
Yep.
So standard interview question here. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Like I said, I would like to stick on the West Coast fishing apex. As long as it goes, the way it's going, it needs to get bigger. Which it's going to be in 5 years. I think it'll be pretty big. But if not, I'm going to try to do my best to qualify to go back east. That's where all the money's at. That's where all the sponsor dollars are at, as of right now. So that's the goal, it's kind of split, or as right now, I'm kind of 50-50. I like to stay on the West Coast. This is where I've lived my entire life. I'm good on, it doesn't matter where we go. I feel like I can, I don't want to be, I don't want to be that guy to be kind of cocky or whatnot, because I'm very humble, but I feel like I can catch them everywhere we go.
Yeah, and you got to believe in yourself.
Yeah. So as long as anywhere we go on the West Coast, I feel like I can do pretty well. Back east, it's very, like I said earlier, it's very hard. That there's a tournament that I did really well one day, the next day I blanked. But you can do that here on the West Coast as well. But
yes, I can.
Yeah, and you think it's tough. Like one day you do really well, the next day the front moves through or whatnot, and you're like, man, these fish are totally shut off. These not doing so well. And then you go to weigh in and they smashed them. Everyone smashed them. It's like, what was I doing wrong? So those guys, I think they are really at a whole new level, or a whole nother level. But then again, they've lived there their entire lives. They've fished most of those bodies of water, so coming from the West Coast, only going back for every single body of water that I went to was new to me. It was very hard to figure out what locations were to kind of focus on it and try to dissect and try to figure out. You can only do so much research to figure that out, but you got to figure out how to catch them. And, I caught fish everywhere I went. Just, sometimes they weren't the better than average that I needed,
Yeah.
So like I said, it takes 5 to 7 years of fishing the elites or fishing the MLF, to do.
So what would be your path to getting to a pro circuit? Will you do, for example, this year, will you do the Toyota Series events? Or are you going to fish the Bass Nation, or how would you go? All the above.
I would probably fish Bass Nation, and I'd fish MLF out of the Toyota Series out here. I qualified through the TBF, and that's a hard road to go through.
Oh,
it's very hard.
There's thousands of Bass Club guys that want to do that.
Right. And when I fished, there was 7 regions here in California. And there's four events for each region. And then at the end of the season, they combined 7 regions and had a state championship. And they took the top 12 from the state championship to go to the semifinals. The semifinals, it was us, the 12 guys from California, plus another 12 guys from Arizona. And we had a tournament, and they took one guy from California and one guy from Arizona to go back to nationals.
Wow.
And then you got to win nationals to go, fish the tour. So it's a long process. It's a little over a year, process to fish it. And it's hard. It really is.
Well, I tell you what, Austin, I feel like this is not the last time we're going to talk. I have enjoyed these few minutes, and I probably will think of more questions, and we'll definitely follow your progress. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. Darn it. Yeah. When's your season start?
It is next weekend.
Next weekend.
I'm leaving Wednesday. I'm headed down to Lake Mojave.
Lake Mojave.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good event.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, the weather looks kind of cold. I've been watching the weather, and it's like some days are in the high 20s, mid to low 30s, and then the highs are like 40s to 50s. So it's going to be cold. water clarity is what I've heard is, what I've done my research is 30-foot visibility, very clear water, finesse rods. I like to power fish, but I'll pick up a spinning rod to catch them too. So looking forward to that one. I don't know where our second event is. They haven't told us. It's kind of one of those things where it's they just want you to show up and fish, no practice, to see what they throw us on the lake and see how we can catch them, see what we can do.
Wow.
So
that will be a challenge.
Yes.
That's
yes.
for sure.
Yes.
All right. Well, again, thanks, Austin. Best of luck to you. We're going to follow you and watch what you do this year. And again, folks, go to his YouTube channel. That is Fisherman Wilson. You'll have a lot of fun watching this stuff. Does a great job. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Sounds good. Later.
All right.